Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in. My name is Joey Moss of Bad Boy Gaming. We have a lot to cover today. A lot of cards that are going to synergize great with other cards. New cards from Ravnica Allegiance. I mean, this is pretty exciting right now. And I think a couple of which are going to shape the new meta. Let's get into it. Oh, and just so you know, quick reminder, support the channel for absolutely free simply by subscribing, hitting the like button and the bell if you want to be one of the first to get notifications when Bad Boy Gaming drops a new video. Well, let's get into it. First up, we have Zeganna, Utopian Speaker. It is a 4-drop legendary creature, Merfolk Wizard. This thing's a beast. When Zeganna, Utopian Speaker, enters the battlefield, if you control another creature with a +1/+1 counter on it, draw a card. That alone's not a bad perk. Just for having a +1/+1 counter on another creature, draw a card. Think what this is going to go combo nicely with, and we'll get into that in 1 second. This new adapt mechanic for 6, adapt 4, which means if this creature has no +1/+1 counters on it, put 4 +1/+1 counters on it. That's a pretty steep price to pay. So you're paying 4 for the card to come out, and then 6 for this card basically to become an 8/8 trampler. But the perk that goes with it, you get the card draw ability if you already have a +1/+1 counter on it, and each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has trample. Think about synergy. Think about where this card will fit in decks that are even existing right now, or where it can be fit. Let's take a look at some. Jaila Ranger. It's the 3-drop. Everyone knows about this Merfolk Scout. It's ridiculous. This is those old Wild Growth Walker Explorer decks. So when this thing enters the battlefield, Jaila Ranger, it explores and it explores again, which reveal the top card of your library. Put that card into your hand if it's a land. Otherwise, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. +1/+1 counter, which is going to help Zeganna. Then put the card back or put it into your graveyard and repeat this process. Wild Growth Walker, this card's probably going to go up in price again just because of some of these new cards are coming out. Wild Growth Walker is a deuce drop. Very feared. Unless you have some kind of removal to get this thing out, like you better lightning strike it right away off rip if this thing enters and you're playing red. And you better hope you can get rid of this thing. Counter if you're playing blue, and just some kind of removal if you're playing black. Whenever a creature you control explores, put a +1/+1 counter on Wild Growth Walker and you gain 3 life. Ridiculous. Merfolk Branch Walker 2-drop. Very similar. You just explore once to 2/1, so it could become a 3/2. Let's take a look at some other stuff that synergizes well with these cards. Simic Ascendancy. It's a 2-drop with the enchantment, new card from Ravnica Allegiance. For 3, put a +1/+1 counter to our creature you control. I didn't think a whole lot about this card when it first came out, but that's because we didn't have cards like Zeganna Utopian Speaker out and about. So yeah, you're going to get the 4 +1/+1 counters on it, but you're going to be running a +1/+1 counter build. Most of your cards are going to either have +1/+1 counters come onto them when they hit the battlefield, or you're going to be able to put +1/+1 counters on them at some point. The thing that makes Ascendancy ridiculous is whenever one or more +1/+1 counters are put on a creature you control, put that many growth counters on Simic Ascendancy. And then if you have 20 or more growth counters on it, you win the game. I'm now starting to think it's going to be a lot easier to pull off the Simic Ascendancy trick. We're going to have to see board wipes or something that counters a counter going on a card, something that removes counters from creatures, or something that just eliminates all counters, like target permanent can't have counters put on it, or that might be a little extreme. Zeganna alone can have 4 +1/+1 counters already on it. And then if you're running something like Kumena, Tyrant of Araska, the 3-drop, tap another Merfolk creature you control, Tyrant of Araska can't be blocked this turn, etc., etc. Draw a card, tap 5 untapped Merfolks you control. Put a +1/+1 counter on each Merfolk you control. That is stupid synergy. You're going to be able to throw a +1/+1 counter on every Merfolk you control. Your Jaila Ranger Merfolk, the other Merfolk Explorer card. Not to mention, there's a bunch of other tricks with Hadana's Climb. At the beginning of combat of your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Then if that creature has 3 or more +1/+1 counters on it, it transforms Hadana's Climb. Target creature you control gains flying and gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is its power. I mean, blue and green are going to be a powerhouse. And let's not forget about Guild Mage's Forum, a card that no one's playing because there was not a good reason to play it. But now with these new cards coming out, for one, you tap it. Add 1 mana of any color. If that mana is spent on a multicolored creature spell, that creature enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. It's a land that you can tap for mana, or you can get an additional +1/+1 counter just by spending 1 more mana. That doesn't sound too bad to me if you're going the whole route of wanting to get +1/+1 counters on everything you have and win the game. I had to throw this in there. Pail Collector. Whenever another creature you control enters the battlefield or dies, if that creature's power is greater than Pail Collector's, put a +1/+1 counter on it, on Pail Collector. As long as Pail Collector has 3 or more +1/+1 counters on it, it has trample. I don't think we're going to see these in Merfolk builds, but there's going to be some wacky builds out there in blue and green with all these cards in the +1/+1 counter interaction. And then just think, you tap 3, target creature you control gains flying and gets +X/+X, and when it turn X's power. So now a 1-drop card just became an 8/8 with flying and trample. That's out there, and it's going to get a lot bigger than that. I'm sure there's some other tricks with Pail Collector, but that's just to name one card you can abuse this trick on. Let's get into what's next. Mutant. What is these mutant things? Homunculus Mutant? Aeromunculus. We're going to call it Air Monk, kind of like Air Jordan, I guess. Mutant, though. When I hear mutant, I'm just thinking, where are we going? And look at the artwork on this thing. It's ridiculous, but where is this taking us? If we're starting to have mutants come out, are we going to see some just deranged, crazy, random plane we're going to enter into soon after this whole Ravnica is over? It's making me think we just might. I don't know. But it's got flying. It's a 4-drop with adapt 1. If this creature has no +1/+1 counters on it, put a +1/+1 counter on it. That's pretty weak in the street. I'm just saying. It's a 2/3. Might see this in limited play. I'm not sure. I could be underestimating the adapt 1. I don't think I am. You're only getting a +1/+1 counter on it for paying 4, and you can't do it again. It's really similar to something else we all know of. Monstrous. Who remembers Monstrosity? So Arbor Colossus for 6. It has Monstrosity 3, which means if this creature isn't monstrous, put 3 +1/+1 counters on it and it becomes monstrous. But there was another perk to it. When Arbor Colossus becomes monstrous, destroy target creature with flying and opponent controls. This sounds a lot similar to the adapt ability. It's almost running parallel. Even the Fleet Feather Cockatrice, it's got flash, flying, and death touch for 7, Monstrosity 3. If this creature isn't monstrous, put 3 +1/+1 counters on it. Becomes monstrous. Cool. It's a mana sink for sure, and you get some nice little perk from it. The +1/+1 counters. Yeah, these cards are not in standard, but I'm just throwing it out there. This whole ability with adept, this mechanic seems all too familiar. Let's get into some rakdos. Bet Evil, a new removal card that I think we needed to see. For 2 black and 1 red, instant, destroy target artifact, creature, or planeswalker. The only downside I see of this card is that it does not destroy an enchantment. If it had said an enchantment on there as well, you might as well have just thrown permanent on the card and included land, But if it had said enchantment on there, I think if it would have said enchantment rather than artifact, I know it's kind of reaching a little far out of its colors, but this thing would have been huge. It would have been just played way too much. I think enchantments with this card and the other one that just came out, we wouldn't be seeing many enchantments. All the value of them would just drop because there'd be way too much removal for them. But being able to destroy a target artifact, creature, and planeswalker is really, really, really powerful, especially with Teferi out. Rakdos is going to wreck some Teferi, man. 2 to 4 in every deck? Probably. Do you even need to include this in a sideboard? That's a really good question. I like the artwork on that. It's like a bunch of goblins all surrounding this. I think that could be a girl. I'm kind of scared now. Very cool card. Bet Evil definitely is going to see a lot of play. I really do appreciate you guys tuning in. Let me know what you think. I want to know your thoughts on all these cards that came out today. The monstrosity, is it too close to that? Is it like the same ability? What's the difference? Is there much of a difference? I don't know. But a huge shout out to everyone on this list. These are patrons, a handful of them who do support the channel. It does mean a lot. It's the driving force behind Bad Boy Gaming and what keeps this channel moving. So thank you very much to everyone on this list. And again, guys, if you enjoy the content on this channel, please support the channel for free just by subscribing. It does mean a lot. Your likes and shares, views, all that, comments, everything. It all goes a very long way. Thank you very much. I can't even talk. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Joey Moss with Bad Boy Gaming. Peace, love, and affection.